Hey everyone, it's Stephanie Garcia, and this is the Art of Becoming series, where we talk all about the journey between where you are right now and where you want to be, and all the stuff that has to happen in between to get you there. If you're ready, let's get started. Hey everybody, I hope you're doing really, really well from wherever you are listening in from. Today I want to talk all about comparison and competition. I think it's incredibly important to talk about. I know it's something that we all deal with. It doesn't matter what stage you're in, what level you're on, where you're at on your journey. I think comparison and competition, I don't think it ever really goes away. I honestly don't think any of the things that we meet at the beginning of our journey ever really go away. Needing to worry about the how, like I talked about in last episode, doubt, worry, fear, stress, all of these things that we deal with at the beginning of our journey when we get started on something. I feel like we always are going to be dealing with some version of that on every level we go and every time that we meet ourselves, right? That's what I feel. It's been my experience. I've done a lot of work when it comes to comparison and competition. I feel like I have so much more work to do on it. Um, but I still meet it. And I think I'm always going to keep meeting it. Even though I've found different ways to see comparison and competition, if I'm not checking myself, if I'm not watching, um, my mind will slip back there. If I take my eye off of what I'm doing, I will slip back there. If I let my brain get into fear and worry and let it spin out, I'll go there. The thing is, the difference between me dealing with comparison and competition now versus years ago is that I know new ways to handle it. So I can get myself back on track. And I think that's the benefit of the journey. And that's the benefit of becoming and growing and evolving into newer versions of ourselves is that we find new ways to um, to deal with these things, right? So anyway, just as a quick recap, last episode I talked about our brain's obsession with the need to know how to accomplish something before we even get started. I talked about how it's not really interested in figuring out the how so much as it's interested in the certainty that it thinks knowing the how will bring. Today, I want to talk about the comparison and competition from the same place that I was talking, a similar place that I was talking about in last episode, in the sense that when the brain is worried about the how and thinking about the how, all it ever does is go, well, how? How can I do this? How can I make it happen? But never from a place of, oh, how can I make this happen? It always comes from a place of, how can I make this happen? Stop, done. It doesn't move anywhere further. When it comes to comparison and competition, the brain does something very similar, right? So, as much as our brain loves to focus on how to make something happen, our brain equally as much wants to compare our how to someone else's. It wants to compare our path and our way to someone else's way and somebody else's path, all in the name of efficiency. And like I said in the last episode, our brains are all about efficiency. The problem is when our brain compares that someone else and what they're doing to what we're doing, and it thinks that they're doing something better, and then it stops us and it spins us out in this drama of comparison and shame. So just like in the how, where it just says, well, how could I do this? How can I even possibly make this happen? And then it stops and it doesn't go any further. When our brains are comparing us to somebody else and it sees that difference and it sees that and it thinks that they're doing better than us, it just stops, right? It doesn't move further from that place. So anytime that you're comparing and the comparison is based on being better or someone being better or more than another, it's a losing deal. I've heard people say, that there's no comparison and everybody's on their own path and in their own timing, and that is true. However, when I was looking at it and just trying to go, well, everybody's on their own path and on their own timing, I would see my brain wrap around that, right? And go, well, then why aren't you any further? It would talk to me as if somehow I was late. to the game, right? Somehow I got started late, and that's where it would come from. So, and that's just not useful either, right? What's helped me, something that I've learned is to get out of the comparison game altogether. Yeah, at least when it comes to comparison to another person, I've come to choose not to look at another person's path. I have decided to choose to not look at what somebody else is doing. I don't choose to look around and think about how I can do it better. I don't do it because I don't find it to be useful. And because our brain does one of two things with that information. If it looks at what somebody else is doing and it thinks that we're doing better than them, well, now we're confident, right? And now we can move forward. But again, like I said earlier, if it thinks that we're doing worse than somebody else, well, now we stop, right? So our brain is just doing the whole noticing, comparing, stopping, and it's not moving us forward. But also, it's putting moving forward based on a condition. What the brain really is doing is putting that decision to move forward based on something outside of us. What I found to be much more progressive and much more effective is to, instead of comparing myself to what another person is doing or what's out there, I compare myself to what I'm doing now and what I've done before. I'm my own competition in the sense that I'm competing against my last piece of work. I'm competing against the last version of myself. I'm comparing myself to what I did before. And then it's from that place that I can do better and be aware of where I need to go to next. When our brains are comparing us to someone else, there's no evolution there. There's no growth there. Instead, that stunts us, it stops us, it causes us to hide and to hold back and to come into ourselves. It causes us to think that we're like no good, that we don't have anything worthwhile to share, that it's all been done before, or they're doing it way better than us. So why even bother, right? So our brain spins out into all of that instead of actually producing anything or putting anything out into the world. When we're looking to our past selves and we're looking at our past work, we can only ever get better from there. I found is that it takes me out of worrying about what anybody else is doing and into focusing on what I'm doing and what I can give. And this is so important because here's the thing, we're all in this together. We are all here to do our part. I don't want to be competing with anybody else. I want to be cheering them on. I want to be seeing them and what they're doing and supporting them because we're on the same team. We're all on the same side. We really look at it. There's no competition, right? We're all contributing something to the world. Even if, you feel like you're number 100 and something of whatever you are in the world. So let's say, okay, for give an example, let's say you're a photographer and there's thousands of photographers out there, and your brain wants to compete and say, there's so much competition out there. We're all photographers. Yeah, but what you offer as a photographer and what the other person offers as a photographer are two different things, two different perspectives, right? You can all have similar skill sets, but what you're going to bring to it versus what they're going to bring to it is different. And what you can offer to your people is different than what they can offer to their people. But at the end of the day, we're helping people, right? We're all contributing something. So I want to be looking to their evolution and to what they're doing from a place of knowing that I'm here in my lane doing what I'm doing, offering what I have to offer, focusing on my evolution and focusing on what I have to give to the world. This is so much more of a fruitful place, and it just feels so much better. And when you come from this place, you can move things from competition to camaraderie. We're moving from a place of like, instead of side by side comparison and competing, to side by side offering. Side by side, what are you giving? What am I giving? How can we make this a better place? And this isn't a kumbaya, oh, that's so nice thought. If you really think about this, yes, the world benefits to this because when I'm offering and you're offering and we're all offering, the world wins. And for us personally, we're not stuck in that damn drama of how dare I not be good as these people? Why wasn't I born with this ability like that person? Coming from this place of camaraderie, and we all have something to offer, it just frees our brains up to get back into what we're doing. And it is because our brain will love to hold on to that comparison and that competition in a way to keep us stuck, right? It to hold us back if we let it. So I really hope that what I'm telling you today you can find useful, and I hope that by hearing it and possibly taking these thoughts on, it's going to be able to free you up if you've been feeling like you've been spiraling down in that comparison and shame game, right? So if it has been useful to you, please let me know. I'm interested in knowing what it is, what you think about what I'm talking about today. I'd love to hear to read those comments, because I don't feel like this is something that is really talked about enough when it comes to comparison and competition.
Thanks so much for listening.
That's all
If
I
you'd
have for
like,
you
share this
guys.
episode with a
Take
friend.
care.
That way we can get it into the ears of people who need it the most. You can also visit my website at theartofbecoming.me. While there, you can go ahead and download my guide, Own That Shit. 3 ways to own who you are, own what you do, and own it out into the world. Thank you again so much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.